Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about something that is really important to me and has really changed my life, and that is Jenkum.
There's a new way for your kids to get high. They're using raw sewage.
I couldn't imagine doing something like that. Sounds pretty sick to me.
Honestly, they need to find something better to do with their life. Seriously.
Something new, something stimulating, something different.
There's a lot of people that say it's a hoax or it's not real or it's just made up or whatever. Now let's just get this out of the way first, so you can laugh it all off or whatever, You won't be laughing once you experience what I have and have your life change. But, it's human waste. It's, shit.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's Josh. It's a new episode of Jenkum, and this one I'm excited about. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Usually on this show I have on comedians and I'll have on some of my musician friends and different people, but the whole concept of Jenkum is all of the different shit I'm into, all the different shit I like, and the shit that I want to share with you guys. And so I'm really excited for this episode. We've been trying to get this guy on for a while, and he's a busy dude. So I'm glad we're able to do it. And one of my new favorite things, I guess founder of Dixon Flannel and Dixon Clothing Company, Denny. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. This has been like a long time in the making, right?
Oh, I'm sorry I've been so busy. You know how it is to be, what do you call it? Like chubby tinge of a redhead fucking kind of. There's lots of gummy bears in my life, shit like that lately. So
yeah, man, I'll tell you, I will say this. I think you do a lot better in this than I do. I follow you on Instagram, and you definitely living a life out there on the water and in the sunshine. I was like, yeah, he's got a tolerance built up that I haven't quite reached yet, my friend.
I've gotten really creative with my hours. It's like my girlfriend, she sleeps like regular hours. I sleep wake up at 3 a.m. and work. You sleep, then sleep at 8 to 9, and then do fun shit, and then work all night again.
Dude, it's funny. It's kind of the same way being a comedian. You can't ever really control when the creativity strikes. And so sometimes I'll be zoning out, watching something on YouTube, about to go to sleep. It'll be 2:30 in the morning. And then I'll get an idea. And next thing you know, I'm at the computer, redoing my entire website at 4 a.m., just hammering away. And then I was like, no, now this has to get done. And it's I didn't even plan to change anything. And then I just will completely redo my entire brand overnight.
Dude, very, very relatable. I understand, man. When that freight train rolls in, you got to jump on because you don't know when the next time it's coming around again, I know. And it's you feel like, you can go through those creative droughts. So it's when you have an idea, you're I got to grab this and do something with it right now or else I'm going to forget it or lose it. Oh, yeah, 100%, dude. I sometimes will get on this thing where I feel like everything I did was forced and it was all a good idea. But it's some weird phase that I'm going through, where I'm all of a sudden for 3 weeks, I think I'm a fucking Rastafarian, and I'm fucking smoking weed every day, just trying to place. And then I look back on it when I'm done, and I'm God, so dumb. Come back in, and I'm cancel it all, done, redo it.
Does that kind of Rollercoaster ride of the stuff you're into or whatever, is that come through in the designs for Dixon? Because it does very much feel like this is what I'm going through right now, so we're going to put out this shirt.
100%. And a lot of it is a lot of it's more so, now we pick colors and stuff, and then we draw it back to a time in the life, and which is very much so a roller coaster. And you know how it is, just like you were saying, with creatives, and the people that I work with the most are mostly the creative team here. And it can be the most organized, most just well lubricated manufacturing machine ever. And then it could just be an absolute fucking shit show. But it's at the same time, that's the thing that I think I love about it the most. It's awesome. It's fun.
Well, one of the things that I love about following you. So I told you before we got started, I kind of stumbled into, this is a funny story. I stumbled into Dixon because a lot of people, I put a little bit of weight on in the pandemic, and I was already walking around with some extra. So I was like, I just got into this habit of like, I'm just wearing t-shirts and like gym shorts every fucking day. And then when I had to go back out into reality, I was like, I don't have anything nice that fits. So I was like, let me see if I can find some stuff that's like nice, that's dressy, but not too formal, that actually like fits right and feels good. And I don't know how I was searching, and then Instagram, all the time we talk about how bad the algorithm is. Instagram was like, check this brand out. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. This stuff is like interesting prints. Some of them are really funny. I was like, let me look into this brand. And you get in there, and then it's not very long before you find and you find the whole brand story. And you're like, oh shit, this is like a really cool, sort of like American business brand story.
That's really funny too, because it's like your phone hears you say like, fuck man, like you're probably just having this alone moment by yourself with your mirror, and you're like, God fucking damn it,
not fit.
I'm allowed to go places now all of a sudden, but now my closet does me no service. And then it like brings you to like, it's like, hey, look at this guy, he's like kind of like similar to you, so yeah, check that out. Sometimes I look at my Explore page and I feel like my phone knows everything about me that it shouldn't. It's just like,
yeah,
and it's like motorcycles, like big boobs. There's like weird new gummy bears that came out, like,
Yeah, but speaking of which, my all-time favorite shirt in the wardrobe collection, and the one that I wore it to our show in Orlando. I wore it the day of, and then I changed into a different Dixon shirt for the actual show itself. But the what is it? The dad bod shirt?
Yeah,
dude, it is the thing I love the most about that shirt, which I'm sure you guys talked about in the room when you were designing it. And I'll see if I can pull up a picture of it here. But the thing I love the most about that shirt is it is a guaranteed double take shirt, where people will look down at your shirt and then they'll look back at your face and start talking to you. And then they're like, wait a minute, what the fuck did I just see?
No, absolutely. And like I have such a good time with that kind of stuff, because like I have people hit me up all the time and they're like, dude, I've gotten compliments nonstop on this, or I've gotten compliments nonstop on this, and whether it's like a plaid or one of those party shirts or whatever. And it always comes from people that are, they're like straight up, they're like, I've never gotten compliments from other dudes on my, like what I'm wearing, or it comes from like a woman, even if they're like in a relationship and they're like, where'd you get that? Because they want to get it for their man, kind of thing. And
yeah,
that confidence inspiring part is on the serious side of things, what I really like. There's a lot of cool stuff that's on the serious side that we do, but like a big part of it is us laughing. I feel like every day I just want to laugh. Yeah.
So here's the pattern I'm talking about for people who aren't watching, but you can look and you see right away, like, oh, there's gummy bears. And then if you look a little closer, you see the gummy bears happen to be stuck in some very interesting positions, which I love, which by the way, the funny side note of this, we were staying in sort of like downtown Orlando for this show, and it was the first one we did. But where we were staying in Orlando was like a super gay part of Orlando. And so I'm walking around, a 300-pound comedian, wearing a pink shirt with gummies fucking on them. You can imagine I was quite the magnet for gay pride celebrators as I was walking around there that day.
That night, 0.
What's that?
I said bar tabs that night, 0.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's one of the things is like I don't drink, so I miss out on that thing. But I did used to say that like anytime my girlfriend would start to feel like she's too good for me, I'll just take her to a gay bar and remind her that we can both do this shit,
Right.
Just flip things around. It's nice to sit in an environment once in a while where I get to be like, it's very nice of you to come over and offer to buy my drinks, but I'm here with someone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice to get to do that as a guy once in a while,
Well, 100%. You're like, I'm a lot of people's type. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, they're also dudes. You know what I mean? That's why I laugh. Like I'll have like women try to talk shit to me on the internet. They're like, you're just mad because nobody will fuck you. I go, there's a lot of people that would fuck me. A lot of them are guys, but don't diminish my numbers, okay?
Maybe not the. But hey,
listen. Every customer is a valuable customer in my book, right? Everyone is a fan.
Absolutely, dude.
We don't discriminate over here. But I think it's kind of cool. And then the other thing that was cool is, there's a lot of brands that sort of struggled through the pandemic. And I don't know in terms of like ebb and flow of sales and things like that. But when you taking a look at your fulfillment rate and how quick stuff is selling out on the site, it's pretty impressive to see a brand not just survive the pandemic, but to continue to have that kind of sell-through rate on your product.
Yeah, we've been very blessed, man. I mean, like, there's a lot of work behind the story and everything else, but I always have to go back to saying we have been extremely blessed. When the pandemic hit, it was a scary time. It was a weird time in my life too. It's like pandemic hits, and like I start going through a divorce and like going through all that shit.
Oh, wow.
And so my constant at that time was like, was my creativity, if I could get it, and work. And I really just sat down my employees and just told them, like, dude, like, I want to go back. I want to go to bat for you, like, fucking every time. And we're going to fucking get through this shit. But I need just as much from you guys. Like, I'm going to need everything that you fucking have. And we're going to have to be more creative. We're going to have to be faster. We're going to have to be better. We're going to have to be working harder. It is what it is, but we'll get through this shit together.
Yeah. And it's like, and it does kind of increase this sense of like, hey man, we really can't miss with designs or production or anything at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And then, when we start going through like the tail end of what those things affected, as far as, like containers not coming in and, the ports are all fucked up, logistics are all screwed up. And like, we start getting to a point where, we're designed out a year in advance and we have all this stuff planned out, but we're getting stuff the day before it's supposed to release. And
oh man, that's scary.
It's a shit show, man. I always told them all, I was like, hey, our only constant is change. I've said this on a lot of podcasts I've been on, and I'm glad that I'm okay with that change kind of deal, and because that was our strong suit. And so through the pandemic, that was it. It was constant evolution. See what works, see what doesn't. Have fun with it. Enjoy the fucking chaos. That's where I thrive. So let's go. So
yeah, and you guys have been around for a bit, right? The brand started in 2013.
Yes.
On the site.
Here in January, we'll be celebrating our 10th year anniversary, which I'm super pumped about.
That's awesome. Which is interesting because you really don't see that a lot with sort of like boutique brands like yours. Like it's very hard to kind of have that staying power and the other thing that's kind of cool is like, even if you go back and look at the product that people are selling on eBay, because everything is very collectible now. So it's like you guys have sort of that same thing that I'd say like Johnny Cupcakes has, where with doing limited run products, you create this sort of like collector's side of it as well.
Oh yeah.
But you look back and you guys have stuff that's like 4 or 5 years old that people are still like, I got 3 of these I'm selling, or that, and the markup is through the roof.
Yeah, it's crazy how that all worked out. That the cool part about it was that it was like we watched like this other part of, during a very dire need time in America, other Americans were making, a significant difference in their life as this secondary like income of our products, which is cool too. And at that time we grew to, about 70 employees, 60 employees. Which was, pretty amazing, seeing as like how for a very, very long time we were operating with like 5 of us.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, I think I got a little bit of lag. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, I got
okay,
you.
cool. Oh yeah, I glitched out there for a second on my end. Sorry about that. No, I was gonna say. So when you started that many years ago, was your vision for the brand always what it is now, or was there a moment where it sort of evolved and you said, okay, no, this is exactly who we are?
So that's a funny loaded question. It's almost like 2 parts.
Okay.
There's the part of the attitude that you see in it. I would call it almost like the chip on the shoulder. And the dichotomy of that is the funny part. That embodies me as a person, really. And so that side of it, I think that I always saw that as a brand. Now, it being the size it is, that was never ever the case. I started it because I wanted to try to make an extra $300 or $400 so that we could afford to take care of like, you know, our newborn baby, like be like a, you know, struggling younger, you know, like trying to be middle class America couple.
Right. Yeah. Just trying to have that extra side hustle thing that would, you know, give you a little vacation money once in a while.
Yeah. Exactly. And that, you know, entrepreneurship has always been something that I've been interested in for sure. I really, I struggle with authority figures a little bit. And so
listen, I'm not going to profile you, but I'd say you're about 2 tattoos beyond I like my bosses. I'm a guy who likes bosses. Yeah.
It's funny because as that time has gone on, what I didn't plan on is that I found out that like I need structure. Like they have to keep me in, you know, they have to keep me on schedule. They have to like, you know, having assistants and having, you know, execs and stuff like that, and me not taking care of everything. Like that relinquishment of power was something I did not expect, which I will say that was a big change for me, and realizing and knowing that it's like, hey, this is what I need. Like, you know, and so I'm happy for that. Like that evolution, I think, is a little bit more personal, but shows through in the brand a little bit.
Yeah, and that you do kind of realize, like, this is the one thing I always say, because before I went into comedy full time, I worked in the corporate world in retail a little bit. I started at Hollywood Video Stores, and then I was one of the first retail operations guys at Croc Shoes when they went public. So me and 3 other guys built that whole retail side of that brand from the ground up at that point. And we grew it from like 30 kiosks to like 300 retail stores in 2 years. And you know, built out all of the operations manuals. So I worked more. My area of focus was more on the developing the company culture, the core, the mission statement, and then all of our sort of like curriculum, basically, to, you know, get people bought into the brand, move through their careers, etc. So, but one of the things, I was also a really young guy in that position and asked to wear a lot of hats. And one of the things you learn when you go from that kind of structure to running your own business now as a comedian is like, everyone goes, oh, I don't want to have a boss. And then you realize when you own your own business, everyone is your boss. Because if you don't give a shit about your customers or your fans or your clients or whatever, you're not going to be in business. So you do kind of realize that, like, oh no, the guy at the top has the most bosses. Because if you give a shit about your people at all, you're answering to them. You have to be accountable to them.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. That was the hardest part of change for me, was really that, because I would tend to take things very personally, and I would, you know, because I just wanted to make them happy. And then, you know, it's like, fuck. And then you're growing, and so then you get haters, and you're like, wow, why do all these people fucking dislike me? I'm being really nice. I'm just trying to laugh every day, you know?
Yeah.
Then you kind of realize,
I know a little bit about that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like for you, you're like, I think these people are really happy. And then you get to this point where you're like, half these people walked out pissed off. And that means I fucking crushed it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is an interesting thing that, you know, I think I'm learning is and so much of it, I think, is just understanding the internet age is like, yes, part of getting big in anything is that you're going to get to a point where it's going to feel like more people or as many people hate you as like you. But you kind of got to think of it in terms of, like, imagine you're a restaurant on Yelp. Most people have a good experience and they don't leave any feedback. And then the people the handful of people that have a shitty experience, they're the first to run to Yelp and be like, fuck this place, it's terrible. And it's like, and so it looks like, if you look at the Yelp, like, the only people that leave reviews are the people who hate it. And then you see it still has like 60,000 ratings and 4.5 stars. And you're like, oh, it's just because the people who hate it are the most vocal, and the people who love it just consume it and enjoy it and carry on with their lives.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's kind of the way things work these days.
And it's very much like that. You know, South Park did an epic takedown of this, but, you know, it's kind of like Yelp culture now, where everyone is just like, if I hate something, they have to know about it all day until they change.
So me and my like day day one, dude, Chris Jones, we've always talked about doing this because we're like, we're going to do like this podcast where we would read the comments and how funny we thought they were or like whatever, you know? But then our longest like idea that we've gone without doing was with like the right video guy. And we wanted to like take the comments from some of the shirts and actually apply them to real life so that you could see like if the internet was real life. So you're at the mall and you're just like walking through the mall and imagine like you open the door and you fucking think that these people need to hear how much you don't like that shit or that you're not going to buy it, right? You're like, open up, nope. You're like, fucking nope. Like, you're like, you open it and you're like, yeah, I would have done that shirt in a different color. That shirt fucking sucks. You know? But when it's on the internet, like, it's like, that's just normal, you know?
Yeah.
So it's funny when you think and you like personify things, you know, like from say social media and stuff and that culture and what that would look like in real life, you know?
Yeah, it's a scary, I wouldn't say scary, but it's sort of like you can get really depressed if you think about it for too long because there's a whole psychology and worldview behind people who engage with the world around them like that. Like it's a real zero sum game. It's like and this is the first thing I would ask that person is like, how much time in your day do you spend on shit you don't like? You know what I mean? It's just like, because I would never spend that much time in my day on something I don't like. You know what I mean? Like
glass box, so I like waving at people as they go by.
Oh yeah, no, I figured as much.
Hot as fucking here. What state are you calling from?
I'm in SoCal.
Oh yeah, okay, so it's not too bad. Dude,
yeah. Are you guys out? Well, those lights look hot in there. Your office is in Arizona, right?
Yeah. So I think you actually came here recently, right?
No, I wasn't in Arizona. I was in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now we're in,
no, I think you were here recently, weren't you guys in Southern California? Yeah.
So I'm in Huntington Beach half time, and then half the time I'm in Tempe, Arizona.
Okay.
So whenever I get back, I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Who the fuck sells flannels here? Like, why here?
Yeah, I had that experience like wearing. So I was feeling good. I had all my whole new Dixon wardrobe. I took to Orlando, and the thing I forgot about the East Coast in Florida is the fucking humidity. So naturally, so like I got the what's the one? It's like the Barber, so it's like white, red, and blue with the razor blade. Right. Yeah. I like that one. So I wore that out. Like we went on a double date with another couple of friends of ours to like a nice restaurant. I was like, all right, I'm going to wear that. And it was outdoor. And dude, I had never felt more comfortable. This isn't me like just jerking off the brand. This is just genuine. I have never felt more comfortable like in clothing out at like a formal semi-casual thing. And I was like, this is fucking great. It's like airy and it's breathing and everything else. But like Los Feliz is not Orlando. And so we go to Orlando and I'm walking around and I was outside in that shirt for like 5 minutes and my body was a fucking rainforest. Right. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was like I was wearing one of those sauna suits that people wear when they're trying to cut weight as a fighter. I was like, yo, that is me right now. I go, if you unbutton this thing, I am soaked. But it kind of worked out. I think I sweat like 10 pounds off that weekend.
You like want to look good for your chick next time? You just like button up in one of those, walk through there.
Oh yeah, yeah. If
someone brought me towels actually.
Yeah, if fighters want to cut weight, throw on one of those shirts and sit in Florida for a weekend. You'll make weight. I promise.
Yeah, seriously.
My buddy looked over at me. He goes, "Are you okay, man?" And I was like, I had the towel. I was like walking around with a towel and everything, and that's why I took 2 shirts to the venue the night of because I was like, I'm gonna need a dry shirt to perform in. Yeah. By the time we get done running around and doing all the stuff to put the event on, so.
And plus, like right before you get your nerves get the best of you. I don't know. I mean, what's it like for you?
Yeah, it was funny because Gavin, who was one of the guys the show I did was with Gavin McInnes and Anthony Cumia and a couple good buddies of mine. And this was the first one of these we did, this first really big event. And Gavin was like, I'm running around and I produced the entire thing. So like all the planning, all the venue, all of the logistics, all that's on me. And so I'm running around right before showtime, and Gavin goes, calm down, man. You look nervous. Like, he's like, you're a seasoned comic. You'll be fine. And I go, I'm not bothered about the performance at all. I just went into the meet and greet room, and none of it is ready for the meet and greet after the show. So I literally just had to grab the entire staff and go, what the fuck? 5 minutes before I'm going on stage,
right?
You know, so it's like, I was like, I'm stressing about that. I'm not even thinking about. So by the time with running that one and it being the first one, by the time I got on stage, I was like, oh, this part I can do. You know, I was like relieved to be able to just tell jokes.
Right.
You know, that part felt like a vacation, and it was everything leading up to it was super stressful.
Oh yeah. I can't even imagine, dude. Like, putting on some of those bigger events is that's a certain sadistic love, you know, like what do they call that? Like glutton for punishment kind of.
Yeah, it's masochistic is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And but to me, like, the performing part was the reward at the end of it. It was like, I did all this work, and, you know, we took all this risk and spent money, and, you know, if it fails, it's on me. And fortunately, you know, not only did we do well, we made some money in the process. And so, you know, it was like, all right, cool. Now we can do this in other places. So we have Dallas end of September. I think we're going to do Vegas the second week of September. And then I think we're probably going to do Huntington Beach might be the last show that we do end of the year. So, because that's definitely sort of our audience, right? Southern California, but it tends to lean more libertarian and conservative. So we get, you know, more guys. Like Huntington Beach is more our spot than LA, and then we'll get people up from San Diego and everything else. So.
And that's a funny area, because like my mom lives on Naples, you know, right there in like Long Beach.
Oh yeah.
So that's right where Orange County ends and like LA County begins, you know? So when there's mandates and mask stuff and all that kind of stuff, like, it would be different when you cross the street, you know, like we go eat tacos here, and then we go like across the street to like Gelson's Market, or, you know, whatever fancy market they have over there. And, you know, and then at that market, like, so you can steal, like, as long as you don't steal over $100,000, like, they're not going to chase you, but like, cops chase the shit out of you to put on your mask, you know?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's what's so wild. It's like, and then we talk about this all the time, especially Gavin and I. Like, I'm an old punk rock guy. He's an old punk rock guy. I was probably more in metal bands and stuff, but it was like, we only became sort of like center right because the pendulum swung so fucking far. Like, you just become a guy who's like a common sense dude. And now all of a sudden they're like, what are you, a Nazi, conservative? And you're just like, no, I think people should be free to do whatever they want to do. And if that means not taking a vaccine, that should be their freedom. And it's amazing to me how quickly, like, even the people that are supposed to be the most progressive got super fascist when it came to that stuff. Like you said, like, feel free to steal $1,000 worth of merchandise, but if you don't have a mask on, we're going to fucking put you down in the street.
Exactly.
Right? You're just like, what is going on?
I agree with all that.
It's crazy to me.
Live, huh?
Yeah, it's. I mean, as a comedian, you know, as a citizen who lives in LA, it's terrifying, and you're just like, what the fuck? As a comedian, it's wonderful because you're just like, Rome is burning. All I've got to do is comment on it. You know what I mean? Like. It's like, it's not like I'm living through an amazing time in American history where everything is perfect, and you're just like, man, there's nothing to bitch about. That makes it tough for a comedian.
Right. 100%.
You know, there's plenty to find grievance with in our society today, specifically if you live in LA. That's one of the reasons a lot of people are like, why don't you leave Los Angeles? It's like, yeah, but if I move to like Arizona or somewhere else where everybody thinks like me, I might start sucking as a comic. I might not have anything to write about because we'd all just agree and be happy all the time.
They're like, what have you been doing? You're like, shooting guns, like playing with lawnmowers. Like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, that's what I think is so funny is when people talk. Yeah, like Gavin always talks about his famous thing is like when people were like, you know, what does Trump mean when he says make America great again? Is he talking about slavery? He goes, no, he's talking about jet skis and big tits. He's talking about 1986, not fucking 1886. What do you mean? Yeah, he's like, he wants to go back to Coke commercials and the Marlboro Man and Corvettes and, the shit that made America cool.
Yeah.
The fun stuff. That's what makes you a good follow. I should tell people to go follow you on Instagram because there's definitely no not enjoying success on your timeline. Like, it looks like every ounce of free time you have, you're squeezing as much as you can out of it.
I am. The thing is like going through my 20s, I was just in like grind mode, dude, the whole time. Like,
same, yeah.
It's just like just trying to build, and whatever that looked like at the time. Because before this, everything was like, nope. Like then the next thing, nope.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I don't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's like, and then every single one puts you down further than before, and then, and like I said, we got really blessed on this thing when this happened. But, even then for the first 5 years of it, I was like, chained to it. And when it was my side thing, it was like I was at Harley all day working, and then it was my side thing. I never sleep or anything. And then, as things like really changed a lot in the last 2 years, I was just really like, you know what? Like, I don't want to say no anymore. And so someone's like, hey, you want to come out to this reggae festival? It's in fucking like next week, Lake Tahoe. And I'm like, fucking, I've never been there. Never been to Lake Tahoe. I'm like, yep, I'm going. Like next week, and they're like, there's this thing in Lake Havasu. You want to show up and like give me a fucking high five? I'm like, fucking A, I'll be there. So, like,
that's
it's
cool,
like
man.
all over the place, and it's been fun. It's tiring, but. I run out of inspiration sometimes, and so like I really like when it's time for me to just be like traveling. Like I pack my schedule the fuck full. It's crazy.
Well, it's a good way to be too, because like you said, creatively, life experience informs your creativity, and so if the people who are responsible for sort of creating products that work for you, and even yourself having input on that process. And it's the same for me as a comic. If I'm not actually out living my life and experiencing the world around me, I have nothing to talk about. So you kind of got to take a break from work, especially like in my case, because if all I'm doing is writing comedy and not experiencing anything new that might influence my comedy, your comedy becomes very one note. You know what I mean? And so much of like the random silly ideas I come up with that are over the top and I, in my opinion, the funniest things that I do come from something that I just happened upon in my life or just thought of being out at the store one day or something, and it just pops in your head. And if you're not in those places to do those things, you'll never get there. The other thing I'll say is every success story that I like, and it's almost like a very American thing, but it's like, and you mentioned this where it was like up and down and up and down. And only over the last 2 years has it really kind of been this constant trajectory or consistent trajectory or whatever. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I took from it. And every good American success story has a boatload of fucking failure that leads up to it. And it's like that failing and getting up again and figuring it out and learning and adjusting the game plan or whatever is, to me, so much of what makes people interesting and brands interesting and, stand-up specials interesting. I don't ever love a story where someone's like, yeah, I just fucking knocked it out of the park on the first try and I'm a billionaire. like that guy's not interesting at all. That person has nothing to say.
Right.
It's like when they were talking about Kylie Jenner being like a self-made female billionaire with a cosmetic company. And it's like, dude, she's in the most famous family in the world, and a cosmetic company that already knew how to run an entire organization just said, hey, do you want to put your name on our shit? We'll give you a lot of money. And it's like, yeah, that made a lot of money, but people are making it sound like she's in the boardroom like, all right, for marketing, we're going to spend, she's just like, I think this color is nice. And I think it'd be cool if we like mix these. It's like, it's a very... So, and then they're like, right out of the gate, she crushed it out of the park. It's like, yeah, she wasn't looking at commercial real estate spaces and designing the offices. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure guys like you, and I don't want to speak for you, but I was like, I imagine you have to look at that and be like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of self-made, but it's also, not.
Yeah, totally. I try to find the inspiration in any of it and be like, all right, that's cool, like good for you. And if I get myself to where you started, then at least I know where I can take inspiration from you from there. I don't know that I'll ever be able to get there, but it's like, it is funny. It's so different from when it started to now, just in certain ways, what I appreciate. And I think before I was just like, dude, driving, look bigger than you are, like, do this, do that, and be the first, be the best and everything. And like now still strive to be the very best we can and very picky. But now, like, I get really pumped when I walk into my place and I look at every piece of furniture knowing I picked it out, or look at every single room, how I designed it, or look at what a piece of shit the building was before I started, and that we bootstrapped everything we had. And, like, actually over the weekend, like on a way more serious note, we were in Vegas with some of our friends, some of my higher ups here actually. Like one of my lead designers, Renata, she used to be at Hurley. Before that, she was with Mattel on the Barbie division. Like did a out
of El Segundo.
Yeah. Exactly. And then she's like one of the LA migrants over here.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a mass exodus, I'm sure.
And then, my number one dude, Jones, him and his wife, like, they're with me too. And fucking me and Jones are talking, and we went to go see Morrissey. And so it was like, we're stoked, like grew up on the Smiths and stuff. That's our softer side of everything.
Of course, yeah.
It's like staple. And so we went out there to see Morrissey, and we were laughing, but like kind of had tears in our eyes. And we're like, dude, remember when we we were talking about how funny it was the first time somebody that came into our showroom saw us together, and they were kind of mocking us because they thought that we were like these tough looking guys, and then we were listening to fucking Morrissey. They were like, we constantly had on like 80s music and shit and new wave stuff that we grew up with. And we're like, dude, this stuff inspires the fuck out of us, and we can listen to this all day in design. We're like, we can't listen to everything else. And we do listen to, just about everything. But it's just like those moments that take you back to like, to before, and you're able to like see, I mean, like now, just a musical standpoint, like fuck, we've worked with Misfits, Hatebreed, Pennywise,
Yeah, what was one of the most recent ones? I remember there was a big, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I can't remember.
Dude, we did something with Guar. Like that.
Oh, yeah, the Guar one. Yeah, I saw that.
Like that was it was the coolest, most random shit, It was just like, there were just a lot of things that I was just like, fuck, I used to beg, like, and dream and hope that I could like just meet one of these guys, and like, this will be the first show that I actually leak this information, but like we have a 4-piece thing, a 4-piece release coming out with Metallica. And
that's dope. I'll be in on that.
Oh my God. And then we worked with Slayer. Like that was fucking insane. Like the
Slayer one. The Slayer one was the most recent I remembered. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really cool. And like, recently I was like hanging out with Billy from Biohazard. Billy Bio was a super cool dude. And, just a lot of the cool people you get to meet. So I guess my long-winded way of saying that, like, in the end, I never thought that it would be all about the people, both like as celebrity as you look at them and as maybe you didn't appreciate them before. Because like now when I walk in and I get to see my employees, like I fucking love sitting down and talking to them and just seeing like what's up and seeing how everything goes. Like I'm very big on taking care of my employees, and they're just like, they constantly inspire me. They keep me going. And sometimes I'm just like, fuck this, I don't have to do something. And then I think about it and it's like, dude, I got somewhere between 50 and 70 people. I got to make sure that this shit fucking works out for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and it's a lot of pressure. It's people's lives. Yeah. No, I get it, man. And it's, but that's one of the things that's, I think is kind of cool that resonates with the brand is like, you guys have an ability to do, and I was going to pull it up here so that, if my mouse isn't dead, I was going to pull it up here so people can see and they can go to the site as well. But like one of the things that I think you guys do really well is like you're able to sort of embody and encapsulate like a part of culture, and especially with those collabs, a part of like nostalgia. But the problem with nostalgia is a lot of places when they do it, it feels fucking fake and cheesy. And you guys have a way of really being able to kind of like reinvent some of these older concepts and do it in a way that's more like a tribute than like a shitty clout chasing fake attempt at nostalgia. Does that make sense? Like there are people that do nostalgia in their brand well, and there are people that don't, and there's unfortunately a lot that don't do it well.
Right. 100%. And this is where it comes in being very, very difficult for like, say, our social media team to come in, because I finally gave away social media to letting the team take care of it without me. And then like the same thing with like photography and video direction. So I'm very much so involved in that stuff with all of them still. And the reason why is because we have to teach them about the culture that they didn't grow up with. And a lot of them being younger, that's a really good point. And so it's like me and Jones, like Jones comes from the East Coast and he was a pro skateboarder. And then after that, he realized.
Where's he from on the East Coast?
He's
a Philly guy?
He's from DC, but grew up skating Pulaski, which would be, somewhat close to Philly.
Yeah.
But and so like when me and him hooked up through motorcycles, he was over skateboarding and I was over like the full like side of motorcycles where I had to like, be like working in shops and shit. And when we brought something together, what we realized was like, he grew up being in hardcore bands and stuff, and he really liked East Coast stuff. And I always had an appreciation for the East Coast stuff. But at the same time, we both grew up with, really good hip hop and times of incredible and, incremental change and an explosion in all types of cultures. And we were such a mix, between the two of us. And we understood all those things. And so we were able to bring, I think, a core feel to that. And really, it's the hardest thing for people to get used to in working with us, because we're like, no, you don't understand. You can't do that. And they're like, well, this video, it's this guy on a bicycle. And we're like, yeah, but it's about BMX. And they're like, it's a BMX bike. We're like, that's freestyle. That's different. It's like,
yeah, it's really an attention to detail. And it's really like the thing I love is the subtle nods. Like I have the Milton up right now. And it's like, the average person might not look at this shirt and immediately make the correlation. Right. Yeah. Which is what's kind of cool about it. And then you dig in a little bit and you go, oh, fuck, now I get it.
Yeah. Like,
you know what I mean?
Those stickers are like some of our favorite parts, because it's like, some of them were like, I don't know if we're going to be able to market it this way. They're not going to appreciate it the way we fucking appreciate it. But all right. Like there was a shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. And it was like a nod to a Pet Shop Boys song. But at the same time, we wanted to like include Moz like on the tag. So we like kind of like ripped off the Meat is Murder, like, iconic fucking Smiths logo.
Yeah.
And put it all together, and we like, and it was because it was just this like weird shitty 80s pattern that like I just remember like my dad wearing something like that. It was like my favorite ever. It was like, but we get to like, we take the memories from that, or like you're in SoCal, so like, dude, sometimes we'll do things that are nods to K-Rock, stuff like that.
Like, like a Weenie Roast shirt or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is like you don't. It's like there's a real subtlety to something, like a real art to being able to make people feel nostalgic without triggering that sense of cheesiness to it, because it's like you kind of have to do it in a backdoor kind of way, right? It's like you're not trying to go, hey, this is an Office Space shirt. You're trying to create some relationship with the person so that they remember their Office Space memory. Does that make sense? So like anybody could put Milton on a shirt and put a quote and like sell 100 or 200 of these t-shirts that just have a silly quote on it. But there's something to making it a little bit, it's the same with comedy. I can say something that's the most direct observation, and that might be funny. But if I can find a more clever way to get to it, that's a much more satisfying bit.
100%. it's the build up and the delivery, right? I mean, this is essentially, and yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it's actually very refreshing to hear someone understand it.
Well, yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot of times where you're just like, does anybody fucking get what we're trying to do here? Right? Trust me, I go through it all the time.
Like, fuck that. The Milton fucking sucks. And we're like, okay. Well, you know what? I really like this shirt.
Yeah, and listen, like, and that's the thing that's kind of cool. And so I'll say that's like and that's what I like, as I kind of like the one-offs. Like, I like the Milton, I like the Barber. I got I can't remember which one, the one with guns on it, the green with the guns. That's what I wore for the show, which I felt was appropriate. And then, I meant to say this joke. I did mean to say this joke on stage, and I tried to give it to the other guys to see if they wanted to do it, and then they didn't do it, and then I wanted to do it in the after show, and then I forgot it in the after show. But when we keep our venue secret until the day of, so that we don't get any sort of like political protests or anything like that. But because we're all canceled guys, right? So one of the things that I thought would be funny is everyone kept asking me, like, what's the venue? Can you tell us the venue or whatever? So I had a joke queued up, was like, we were going to do it at Pulse nightclub, but they shot us down. Which is a little hardcore, right? Which I thought would have brought the house down. And I said it to Anthony backstage. He goes, that's fucking killer. I was like, do you want to do it? I was like, it might be really funny if you do it. And he was like, no, it's yours. You do it. And then I forgot to do it.
It's going to turn into this thing where it's like, you know, like that little board, like where it's like when you play, hey, what's that game where you put your fucking feet on the different colors and shit?
Oh, Twister?
Yeah. You like, you have to like hit that little dial thing that goes around. And we have like this little dial that's like each of you guys' faces and come with the most like offensive, fucked up shit you guys.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
Oh, I got picked again.
Well, that's kind of the idea of what we do, is like to really sort of honor the way that comedy made us feel. Like, we all grew up loving stuff like Carlin or Eddie Murphy or Martin Lawrence, and guys who were like not afraid to rock the boat and not afraid to be a little outside of like culture and a little bit sort of a little more punk rock about it. And that has kind of gone away. That's the other thing I was going to say that I think is maybe why the brand is turning and you guys are seeing more success, if you are, I hope, is because I think there is sort of a sense, and I've talked about this on the show a lot, is one of the biggest things we're missing from culture right now in America that I think is part of why our culture is not that cool is we don't really have a rock and roll counterculture part of our culture today that existed in every other generation, right? So like in the 90s, we had grunge and alternative. In the 80s, we had new wave and metal. In the 70s and 60s, you had punk, the whole punk explosion. And then even in the early 2000s, you had new metal and pop punk, and you had these other sort of counterculture movements. And now if you look at it like musically, those things exist, but nowhere near to the degree that they have in the past. And I think by not having this sort of artistic counterculture, it's driving people backwards, and they're going like, oh, I want to feel like I did when I used to listen to the Smiths, or I want to, like, where's the Sublime of today, even though Sublime with Rome is still performing right now. But it's like, yeah, it's like people want that feeling of sort of a little bit of rebelliousness. And the other thing that I think that Dixon really is able to capitalize on right now is a desire for there being more masculinity in men. You know, there's been this kind of push against masculinity and the toxicity of men and everything else. It's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, some of the things we love about guys is fucking riding motorcycles, shooting guns, drinking beers, like, you know, hunting. And so I do think that there's, you know, you see it a lot with Jordan Peterson, where he's got these younger guys who've kind of grown up without a culture that promotes any masculinity. And then when they start to explore that, all these doors open up about like, oh shit, man, like there's all this cool man shit that my generation didn't grow up with that's out there.
No, I agree 100% for sure. And I was having this similar conversation with my girlfriend just recently, and I was talking to her, I was like, your generation is never going to know fucking rock stars. And they're like, she does, because she grew up with a lot of like 90s stuff and saw it, but didn't understand it the same way I did because of my age.
Yeah.
And so, so her age is a little bit more about, like electronic shit and in the loss of, which a lot of that stuff I like. But,
yeah, that's not to say there isn't cool shit out there today.
Yeah, it's just the loss of the culture. It's like grungy metal fucking bars and, and gross venues and, like putting on DIY shows, the stuff, like watching the history of stuff, having to know the history, watching people struggle to become what they are. And then also the other side of it, the full-blown rock star who's been, touring his entire fucking life and literally got to the point where he did whatever the fuck he wanted and then inevitably bottoms out and then comes back as another success story after. It's like, we don't get to see that anymore. That's
and it's very, yeah. I mean, it's very much like people get a lot of what they see in art and entertainment and culture is literally just what the machine feeds them. And I feel like when I was growing up as a kid, there was a little bit more left up to us with discovery. That's kind of the problem with technology and internet, is that everything gets fed to people. And like, how many times as a young man did you go to the record store and be like, let me just look around?
Right. You spend hours in there. And so I think you are 100% right. It's instant gratification is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and people are less sort of like interested in exploring or discovering what they like, where they're just sort of like, well, this is what everyone's giving me, and I'll just choose from that. And you're going, no, man, there's a bunch of off-menu shit that you've never heard of that's fucking cool.
Right. Yeah.
Like
go to this sketchy bar that you've never been in before, and you're like the young kid, and you like had just somehow learned about hardcore music or metal or something. You see some dude that looks like a fucking pirate. You don't know what that's about yet. And then, like something else. And there's like so much stuff you got to figure out and how to like handle yourself in those situations. And then growing to know these people and obtaining relationships, obtaining bands' names and everything, going through it and looking at these different flyers and blah, 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 and everything else is like, that is such a fucking important piece of the puzzle, in my opinion.
Yeah, for culture and for society is like having that, having people that are willing to go look for shit that's not just what Netflix is showing them or not just what, so like, being kind of one of these guys now that's considered like on the fringe or counterculture or whatever, like that is cool. I never thought it would be me because I never thought I'd be a cool guy. But I was like, it is kind of cool. Like when we did that show in Orlando, people were coming up to us and they're like, hey, man, it's like, this is really important work that you're doing. And I'm like, what do you mean? We're doing fucking dick jokes and stuff on stage. And I go, no, but the fact that you guys are willing to like show up and do comedy the way it used to be done is like, people aren't doing that anymore. Everybody's worried about losing their jobs or losing money or whatever. And nobody's going up and just saying, fuck it. And that's why audiences go to see comedians. They want to see somebody go, I don't have to worry about going to work tomorrow. So,
oh, yeah, 100%. Dude, when I was in Vegas over the weekend, I saw that show Absinthe. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about that? Okay, so.
No, is it a Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah, it's like a Cirque du Soleil kind of deal, right? But the humor is just raunchy as fuck. And it's just like, it was that thing where I was like, once I sat down, I didn't even know to expect that. And I was like, I literally said so many times, I was like, holy fuck, I can't believe you just said that. And I loved it. That's like my favorite part. So it's like, that is what, when you get told every day what you can't do now, what you can't listen to, like what's not allowed on TV and what's not, blah, 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 blah. You miss this thing of like what people need to realize again that you're like, yo, you're allowed to laugh at that shit. You're allowed to have, you're allowed to not get fucking triggered by fucking everything that doesn't go your way.
Well, and it's sort of like understanding that like going to see a comedy show should be thrill-seeking behavior, right? Like, and I use this analogy a lot recently where I'm like, listen, when people go to theme parks, and it's funny because I don't go on them, I'm terrified of them, but they don't go on a roller coaster to feel like they're riding in a car. And if cars like drove like roller coasters or amusement park rides, people would be fucking freaking out every day, right? But that's why your everyday vehicle and car is safe, and a roller coaster feels a little fucking dangerous because you're supposed to go there and feel that it's a little fucking dangerous. So when I go on stage, don't bitch at me that I'm not giving you the Volvo sedan of your everyday life. It's supposed to be a fucking roller coaster. You're supposed to go, oh shit, he said the N-word. Like, it's supposed to be crazy stuff. Like, it's supposed to be a cultural roller coaster, not, oh my God, I can't believe he said, women are cunts sometimes. How dare he? And it's like, yeah, it's like, this is what it is. It's supposed to be a break from your everyday life. And it's so weird now that with social media and everything else, it literally would be like these people are standing at the bottom of the roller coaster going, boy, that doesn't look like a safe way to get the kids to and from school at all. And you go, yeah, it was never intended to do that. It's not intended to be your everyday mode of transportation. This is for being fucking crazy.
That's too funny. I love that. I really love that. I agree 100%. I used to really once I knew what it was like to be a dad and I was like new and married and stuff like that, I used to really enjoy listening to Louis C.K.
Oh, he was the best, right?
This is like talking about how shitty his kids were and stuff. I was just like, this guy's the best.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, as a new parent, you're sitting there, you're going like, okay, I mean, like you have those thoughts, but you'll never share them with people because they'll take your fucking kids away, right? But he's allowed because of the medium to go up there and give everyone that release of going like, yeah, I've thought that about my kids.
Serious.
And so and that's what it's supposed to be, is like we're not even really mouthpieces for ourselves. It's like a good comedian becomes the voice of your inner monologue, to where I shouldn't be up there saying what I think. I should be up there reminding you that that's what you think. And that's why it should be funny.
That is so true. Never thought about it that way.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, and I've always had a real firm vision on that as a comic, where I'm like, it's not my job to tell you what to think. What I like to do is try to get people to think about how they think, and that usually could be like saying something that I assume they're thinking, or sometimes the fun thing is going so far the other direction and giving them a way of looking at it that they never thought of before. And then kind of using it. And then that's my favorite kind of stuff, is like using their own assumptions against them. So like I have a bit where I talk about like, oh, I'm lazy. If it were legal, I would have slaves. And sometimes the audience gets tight. And I go, I just want to point out I didn't say what color they'd be. You guys just guessed. And it's like, and so it's just, you're just reminding the audience that they're the ones that have a racist idea about that, not you. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. It's fun. It's like you're trying to pull things out of people that they would never share with you. And that, to me, is the magic of the relationship with a comedian and their audience. But it's got to feel that way a little bit, too, as a brand with your brand audience, where you're like, all you guys are looking for is finding that thing that clicks with them, and that you're going, no, like the shirt doesn't sell out because you guys are geniuses. It sells out because you've made this genius thing that has it pulls something out of the buyer. They just go, oh, I have to have this. Because I connect with it in some way.
Yeah, exactly. That connection is a huge part, and it has to be. And I always felt like we wanted to speak to people that felt like nobody else spoke to them. It's like I didn't feel like a lot of brands spoke to me, so we'll do that. And then every once in a while, I would like to shake shit up just cause. It's like remind people that we don't have to have rules. Like, come up with a flannel that's called the Cleveland Steamer. And yes, I put a piece of shit on it. I'm going to put a fucking choo-choo train on it. But when we were talking about why and it's brown, it's because we wanted to call it that.
Yeah.
And, but then do really cool, iconic times in our lives that, like, either they pull on heartstrings or they remind you of the first time you saw boobs, or they remind you of fucking, I don't know, or the first day you got your ass kicked. You never know. It's like a range of emotions for people,
By the way, if you want that shirt, I'll tell you how to design it. The first day the ginger kid got his ass kicked in high school, I'll give it to you. It's a red flannel with navy accents. That's just my experience. I grew up in that 90s era. I remember the first time I went, it wasn't even high school, it was junior high. And I think it was like 12 or 13, but it was like our junior high, the way they did it when I was a kid was like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And the puberty difference between like 12 and 14-year-olds is insane.
That is true.
So like as a 6th grader, I was going in with like 14-year-old dudes, by the way, from like Philadelphia, the city, were getting bussed into our schools. So like these are guys who've already done stints in juvie. They're 6'3" at 14 years old, like enormous. And, and then of course in the lunchroom being me, I was like, all right, I always had a mentality going into that school, the lunchroom that was like prison. I was like, well, I could pick a fight with the biggest guy on the first day. Or I'll get my ass kicked every day for the rest of my life. And so I remember sitting down at lunch with like this table of like all enormous 8th grade black kids. And because my buddy Shahir was sitting with them and I sat with them and they got mad that I sat with them and like got up and started pushing me to not sit at the table. And I was like, all right, I got to fucking fight this dude or else I'm just going to get. And by the way, all my white friends that I had gone to elementary with that were sitting on the other side of the lunchroom, they were like, he's on his own. So, yeah. There was no cavalry coming to, yeah. They were like, we don't fucking know him at all. You guys do with him what you will. Yeah. So it was a real fun, and we can call this shirt the initiation because that's what it was. But what was funny though about that was it did work that way. I got my ass kicked on the first day, and then all those kids respected me because I talked shit and I was willing to get my ass kicked. And then I became friends with everybody that was like all 8th graders and 7th graders and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that you're like, all right, cool.
I was like, oh yeah, cool. Now I'm in with the cool kid, with the old kids.
Yeah. Definitely.
But yes, if you want a shirt that will trigger kids PTSD of getting their ass kicked on their first day of junior high in the 90s, I might still have it.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
I was
thinking about it for sure.
What's that?
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's just it is weird that I remember. You know what it was too, because I remember picking that shirt out, and it was like, this is like 19. This would have been like 91 or 92, right? Or no, it was like probably 90. It was 93 or 94. It was probably 94. And I remember picking that and being like, this shit's fucking cool, man, because it was like Soundgarden, Nirvana, so it was like I had my Airwalks and my fucking flannel. And I was like, and I had like my hair down to here, right? So I was like, yeah, man, things are coming up, Denny, when I show up at school today, and boy, did they not.
Dude, and then it's crazy to watch now too, because you see a lot of the 90s stuff like resurfacing,
Yeah.
It's always like a little bit different, and so like this time, same thing, like little, slightly different, but now instead of like big huge baggy pants, there's like they're big huge baggy pants, but they're high waters a little bit, and you see like the open wearing flannels and the like long hair and shit, and it's like it's crazy. It's like the grunge without the grunge music is back, But
yeah, that's why I am one of those guys that gets a little mad when I see like a Kendall Jenner wearing a Slayer shirt, and I'm like, you better have that. I'm like, bitch, you better have that record.
Dude, that for sure cost her $170.
Oh yeah, isn't that nuts? Isn't it nuts that we threw away all our band and concert tees from back then, and we'd be millionaires if we had just kept them?
Now it's sitting at some place on Fairfax, fucking selling for.
Well, like my girlfriend is way more into street. Well, my girlfriend's Middle Eastern, but she's not like Middle Eastern culturally at all in the sense of like high end brands. Like she's not like a Gucci, Dolce Gabbana, none of that. She's a streetwear kid. Like she's in LA. She grew up Inland Empire. So she's like, she'll buy $400 Nikes, Air Force Ones before she drops like $2,000 on, couture type, high end fashion.
100%.
And so she'll go to like she's never like take me to the expensive mall stores. She's like, I want to go to the vintage t-shirt shop, on Melrose, and we'll go there and she'll drop like, she works her ass off, but when she buys clothes, she'll drop like $600 on t-shirts. And I'm like, I threw 3 of these fucking things away 20 years ago.
Seriously.
She was like, I want to get some Harley shirts. There's some really cool vintage Harley shirts. And I go, dude, I grew up riding motorcycles. I threw away 100 of these, 90s, 80s and 90s Harley shirts.
Yeah, seriously. And now, really popular lately.
And you go back in there and they're like, you go back in there now and they're like, yeah, no, that's $450. It's because there's no rips or tears or stains. And you're like, Jesus Christ, that was a $20 shirt at a bike shop, 25 years ago.
Yep.
That shit appreciating like Los Angeles real estate. Vintage t-shirt. I'm gonna have to start a vintage t-shirt store so that I can someday own a home.
Fuck, dude, it is so gnarly out there.
It's wild. All right, cool, man. Well, we'll jump into the bonus show. I appreciate you making time today, Danny. I'll plug the site. Everybody head over to Dixon.com. You can find some awesome stuff over there. And like I said, really like a good mix of stuff. You guys do boxers, t-shirts, button-downs. The button-downs are probably what you're most known for. Right. Hats and accessories, all kinds of cool stuff. So head over to Dixon.com, check it out. And then we will jump into 10 shitty questions with Danny Dixon.
Can't wait, dude.